Alright, in today's video we're going to cover the final form of progression that we haven't covered in this weighted calisthenics programming series, which is going to be step loading, because we have covered linear and wave progression in the last two videos. Definitely check those out if you guys haven't already, but today we're going to zoom in on step progression. So without further ado, let's dive into today's video. In the last two forms of progression, what we have seen is that as you move through your mesocycle and your training program, the weight increases. So in week 1 and week 2, you are going to be lifting two different amounts of weight. Now step loading is the big exception to this rule, because with step loading the weight is going to stay the same, but you're going to add in reps or sets in order to progressively overload your training. It's only after you have finished your mesocycle that you will increase the weight, but even that is not necessary when you are doing a step loading program. So now let's take a look at how to actually run a step loading program. So let's say on week 1 we're going to start off with a 3x10 on 10 kilograms. Like I talked about in previous videos, you always have to start out your first week with a relatively easy workout, which is going to give you some room to improve. Now on a linear or a wave-like program, we would actually increase the weight and therefore lift something heavier on week 2. But on a step loading program, we are not going to do this. Here we're going to change the amount of work that we're doing with this weight by adding in a set or by adding in a rep. If we were to take the first option, that would mean that on week 1 we would do a 3x10 on 10 kilograms, week 2 a 4x10, and on week 5 we will be doing 5 sets of 10 reps with 10 kilograms. And by adding a set every single week, we have drastically increased the amount of volume that we're doing without changing the amount of weight that we're lifting. So that is one way to do it. We can also apply progressive overload by adding in one extra rep. So on week 1 a 3x10 on 10 kilograms, week 2 a 3x11 on 10 kilograms, and on week 3 we are doing a 3x12 on 10 kilograms. And right here, once again, we have increased amount of work that we are doing and also increased volume without increasing the weight that we are lifting. So the weight always stays the same, but the amount of work is increasing as the mesocycle progresses. Once we have finished that mesocycle, that is when we can do a couple of different things. So we can increase the weight and then go all again. So a 3x10 on 12.5 or maybe even 15 kilograms, build it up towards a 5x10 on 15 once again. Or we can increase the reps, starting off with a 3x12 on 10 kilograms, work our way towards a 4 and a 5x12. There are a lot of different ways to step up, but the main thing is that you essentially don't change the weight until you have reached the end of your mesocycle. Just like on the other forms of progression, keeping in mind the intensity of your workouts is very, very important, because you always want to give yourself the ebb and flow of training. It's also very important to start off light enough in week 1 to allow yourself to add in reps or sets without you missing reps in the second or third week. Because if you are starting off week 1 with the heaviest 3x10 you can do, there is really no way to add in reps or sets in the following weeks without you missing reps, and missing reps is the last thing that you want to be doing in your training program. So starting off light enough on a step program, or any program for that matter, is very, very important. And so just like on a linear and a wave program, you always end up with the ebb and flow of training. So you're essentially always building up towards very intense and very heavy weeks, or in this case high volume weeks, by having the first few weeks being relatively easy to allow yourself to actually, ease into the heavy workouts towards the end of your mesocycles. And now let's talk about the benefits of step loading. So step loading is extremely effective in really base building training blocks where you're really trying to widen out your base and increasing your tolerance to high volume. Like you guys know, a very small base is going to give you a very shallow ceiling. So you have to have those periods of time where you're really focused on really pushing volume and widening your base out to then go heavy afterwards. And this is where step loading can be extremely effective. It's also very, very effective for your strength training if you want to increase your tolerance to certain thresholds. So let's take, for example, an individual that has only really worked in hypertrophy focused rep ranges, therefore has a very low tolerance to very heavy weights. In his case, it would be very, very effective to increase his tolerance to heavy weights by following a step loading program. He could be doing triples at 85%, start off with a 3x3 and build his way up to a 5x3 over the course of a couple of weeks. I also use step loading very, very effectively on my skill training, especially front lever. So I made a video quite a while ago talking about my current front lever program, and that is actually a program in which I'm currently using step loading to increase the amount of hold duration that I do week to week. And in that case, I have seen very, very good results over the last few months. So also in that case, step loading can work very, very well. And lastly, it's a very, very good way to get rid of the mindset that a lot of people tend to have, because a lot of people tend to think that you have to PR every single workout. And step loading is a very, very good way to kind of keep the weight the same and teach people to actually increase their tolerance to volume and actually widen out that base, because a lot of people tend to actually hit plateaus later on in their training careers because they never actually spend a lot of time increasing tolerance to volume, widening out that base, working on really foundational work. And then one more thing I feel like I have to mention in this video whilst we're actually talking about step loading, a lot of people in my comment section over the last few months have actually asked about my opinion about Dominic's guys program, which is a step loading program where you work your way from a 3x3 to a 5x5 with the same weight. Because it is a video talking about step loading and because that is a step loading program, it would really make sense to answer that question in today's video. However, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to make a full dedicated video on that program, giving my opinion on that program, because I feel like reviewing that program in this video wouldn't really be fair. I think it's much more I think it's just much better to actually dedicate a full video to that whole thing. So if you guys have any more questions talking about that program, leave it down below in the comment section. But for now, let's actually finish off today's video. So as always, like and subscribe if you guys haven't already, and share the video. Any more questions, video ideas or advice, leave it down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Latest.